Evening, everybody. It's Thursday. It's Ben's Brick Designs. I'm Ben. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here. Tonight's a little different. We've done some chats like this in the past, and I'm bringing on a couple of friends tonight, and we're just going to talk about stuff. No real Lego things going on other than I'm taking apart a couple sets, but we're going to talk Marvel. We're going to talk Star Wars. We're going to talk Star Trek. We're just going to be kind of geeky about stuff. So feel free to join in the chat. Let us know what you're doing, where you're coming from, and we'll get going. And I'm bringing on my couple friends here. I got Meredith, who's in Austin with me, and we've got Dave, aka Kodiak Bricks. Welcome, guys. How you doing tonight?
Howdy.
Howdy.
Oh, hey. So yeah, nothing really going on. I know I talked to Meredith before. The first time we had this chat thing going on was she wanted to talk all things Mandalorian, and since then the show's been off the air 5 months, something like that.
A minute, and I don't remember. We were talking after season 2 had started, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember what episode we had gotten to, but it was at the beginning. I remember that
Okay.
because my primary question that started this whole thing had not been answered yet, which is Boba Fett a Mandalorian?
Oh, right. Yeah. And that question has been sort of
It has. Well, depending on how you look
asked
at it.
and answered a little bit. I'm going to move my mic over here and see if this improves the sound a little bit. Hey, sexy voice time.
Oh.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome to the chat, everybody.
Oh, that's right, Mayor.
Yeah. That hits me where I live. I can never really get the mic this close, so I may have to turn the gain down a little bit, but at least I don't have to shout.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's as MC Chris has said in his Fets Vet song, that is a question that stumped Star Wars historians deep in their buffet plate at Bennigan's.
Not a Bennigan's reference.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't heard of a Bennigan's in 20 years.
Oh, we were just talking about this on Facebook. Somebody was really lamenting the loss of the Monte Cristo, the fried Monte Cristo.
Oh, yeah.
So
I always got
I'm also
a giant cheese wheel on it, like a big fried cheese, breaded cheese thing on top of the burger.
right. So let me see. All right, cool. Nobody's in there. The live thing on Restream is a little weird because I have a thing set up that's like, follow me on this channel later, but Restream live, you can't do that. So I'm just hoping that people just kind of show up to the other part of it. So I don't know. Anyway, so the debate is yes, whether he's a Mandalorian or not. And I think the consensus now is that he is because he took the creed or he took the oath.
Well, I don't know if he ever did, but his father was a foundling, or his clone donor, Django, was a foundling.
Right. So it's like, I guess it's like Judaism rules at this point. If you're born into it, if your mom was Mandalorian, that makes you Mandalorian, something like that.
I mean, I guess it also depends on whether or not you consider a clone a son instead of a clone.
Yeah.
I personally do. I'm all about the Boba Fett being. I've proclaimed him Mandalorian. He is, obviously raised as a son, like you said, Judaism wise.
Right.
That was his purpose. So, I personally think he is. I'm all about that. We don't need to go down to genetics, people. That's bigotry.
Yeah. Well, it's also without there being kind of a home world for the people anymore. Like their planet was sort of wasted and blasted and
raised, if you will.
Raised, yeah. The Empire, the Siege of Mandalore really ruined them. That if you have people who are still holding to any kind of teachings that they have, I would think that would be sort of a good thing for, whatever kind of race or creed or culture that you have to continue, to sort of willfully ignore anybody who claims to be a Mandalore who's trying to keep with their teachings.
Sure.
It just seems really limited in vision.
I think that is an outstanding point, especially since they're also so hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no sort of connection to each other unless they sort of stumble upon them. which doesn't seem like a solid plan. But I guess if your planet's been, razed to the ground, you don't have a lot of choices. So yeah, I don't think it's the time to be culling, like playing favorites. Be like, oh, you're a Death Watch Mandalorian, you don't count, or
Yeah.
take your helmet off, you don't count. This is not the way.
I really do like the idea of them having that sort of, because everybody in Star Wars feels like up until this point has been kind of a monolith, right? You are stormtroopers, you are Jedi, you are a resident of Coruscant, you are a resident of Chandrila, something like that. There's never any of these sort of niche clans, if you were, which is why I like Clone Wars and Rebels, and to the extent Mandalorian, where they have bits of clannishness and other teachings and stuff. And when Bo-Katan shows up with her group, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're sort of a fanatical throwback," and it's like, oh, that's so. It brings such depth to the show, and I love it. It's so great.
Also, welcome, Journal of the Scots.
Oh yeah, Journal of the Scots. Hello, how are you? I'm not used to looking at the chat on the same screen. Hey, thanks. Yeah, 300 subs. I'm really happy about that.
You're too busy looking at 5 different screens at once, which is very impressive, by the way. I'm really impressed. I'm not joking. It's very impressed. You keep a really good handle on what's going on all at once.
Indeed.
Oh, well, thank you. And we are joined here by Brad's Life. He is a friend of the show. Welcome, Brad's Life. How you doing?
Hey,
How are you?
Welcome, Brad.
Doing well. We're just talking Star Wars, and I'm taking apart Poe's X-Wing and Night Buzzard. And yeah, so right now we're talking about Mandalorian stuff and lore and what have you. Are you all caught up on that show? Do you watch that show?
Yep. I'm all
You do?
caught up.
All
Yeah.
caught up. I mean, it's only been, second season's only been over since like Christmas, so I think most people should
Well,
be.
every Friday morning, it's the first thing I do.
Yeah, you have to avoid the spoilers.
For,
You'll get the spoilies otherwise if you don't.
Right.
for the sake of clarity, I am not caught up on the second season, but I accept that by this point that is my fault. So you guys can talk about it, spoilers and all. I've had a few things sort of talked about, for lack of better terms. So yeah. At this point, go ahead. I'll watch it later.
Yeah, it's past the 2-week moratorium of spoilers or whatever it is.
Yep.
The ban or the embargo has been lifted.
It used to be 3 days.
It used to be what?
3 days back before the advent of binge watching.
Oh, yeah.
I still remember an article in USA Today where they asked, like, what's the hard limit? And they decided on 3 days. But this was back when people had cable, so,
Right.
you had to clear your DVR fast.
Yeah, so it's we're a bit out of that, and there really hasn't been a whole lot of other Star Wars stuff going on. I guess if you don't count the High Republic books and comics that have come out recently. Meredith, have you read any of those? I know you're into audiobooks. Have you picked up any of those?
And regular books. I'm not familiar with those books, and I'm actually behind. The only novels I think that I read were the Timothy Zahn novels, although I think got at least 1 or 2 out an edition in the last 10, 15 years that I am not familiar with, so I need to follow up with those. And then I actually tried to read and barely got through some sort of young adult series about Jada and Jana, the twins, the Skywalker twins. I say young adult, but really it was like high kindergarten writing. But
yeah, it's. I mean, young adult is really. I mean, somebody schooled me on this the other day. They're like, young adult doesn't mean the writing is dumb. It just means that the themes are a little younger. They're probably not as political. It's a little more action oriented in some cases, but it doesn't mean the writing is less intricate or.
That makes sense.
Because anybody who can read an adult book, anybody who can read is,
Right. That actually makes a lot of sense. I never heard it characterized like that because, there's some young adult, quote unquote, books that are like crap. And then there's some that are written really well. And I still reread it this day. But this was not one of them. The series was crap. They were very much for, it seemed like they were for little kids. Um,
And I think there's some of that for, there's a couple of things in the High Republic stuff that is definitely little kid related.
sure.
But they also have like some adult, comic books and novels. And then they do have a young adult series as well. So I think I'm limiting my
picture book.
Yeah, that too. It's trying to be. You guys remember the old? There was a now extended universe or Legends, whatever they're calling it. Media blitz called Shadow of the Empire, and this was back in the day. This is probably about around the same time, like mid '90s. That the Thrawn trilogy was out. Novels like Truce at Baccarat. The Corellian trilogy, some other stuff, but it was everything but a movie. It was comic books and novels, and there was a video game, and like the only thing they didn't really have was a TV show or a movie to go with it. But it was 3 books, so it was a trilogy, and there's some good stuff came out of that. Not everything was great, but some good stuff. The books were fantastic. So that makes me feel like what they're doing now with the High Republic is like, we're not going to make movies out of this, but we're definitely not giving up on developing the universe a little more. And meanwhile, everyone goes, what about the Old Republic? We got all these stories that you guys abandoned. Just bring those into the fold,
I appreciate, though, that they try to include everyone, age group wise. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody, well, I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. Quite a few people can appreciate Star Wars, but if you want to bring it down to a small kids level, I love that. I want them to have their experiences the same, and then work their way up, or sit them down and make them watch Star Wars: A New Hope right away when they're 2, and then they do adorable gold people explanations. Have you seen that little kid explaining Star Wars?
Yeah, those are great.
She's like, Opie Kenobi, like she can't pronounce his name, and it's just adorable. But she loves it anyway.
There was a filmmaker here in Austin, and I forget his name. If I thought about it long enough, I'd probably figure it out. But he did bumpers for South by Southwest. He had a couple films in South by Southwest, but also he had some of those bumpers that show up before the Alamo Drafthouse movies. And one of them was this little short film that he did with Mario, which was really great. And it was like a real life Mario who was, an actual plumber, and he had a thing for this girl who fell in love with this kind of preppy dude, and he got really down on his luck and started taking drugs, aka mushrooms, and like his life went to crap after that, and it was just so good. But he also did this thing where he recorded his girlfriend describing Star Wars, and she had never seen it.
Awesome.
So this was what she could gather based off of. It's really old. It's got to be 15, 20 years old by now, because it's one of these early internet things. But it's really good because she'd never seen it. She just put it together based off bits and pieces from cultural context, right?
Right.
So
Pop culture.
everything was like, pop culture stuff. And so she's like, I don't know, they went to the bar planet, and like at one point she said something like,
talent to me.
Chewbacca was the king of the Ewoks or something like that. It was so good. And he kept going, oh really? Tell me more, let's keep talking about this.
Awesome.
And at one point she said, so Luke and Hans went and he went, Hans? She went, yeah, Solo. And he went, Hans? Yeah, Hans Solo. And they put Han Solo, like he did all these little animations to go along with it. And so there's like Harrison Ford wearing lederhosen and like the beer hat and everything.
I love it.
It's so good.
Journal of the Scots has mentioned a couple of things. Bad Batch coming out in a couple of weeks.
Yes. So what do you guys feel about the Bad Batch? 2 weeks to the day?
I saw it on Instagram this morning.
All right. Well, that would make it a Wednesday. Coming out on a Wednesday.
May the 4th, so whatever day May the 4th.
May the 4th, yeah. That makes sense. I'm waiting for some sort of weird last-minute Lego thing on May the 4th that nobody's going to be able to get because it's a stupid promotion. But I'm not bitter about that. Yeah, I'm not bitter about not getting that effing Ulysses.
Got mine right here.
Oh, yeah, I saw your post. Thank you very much. Somebody built a nicer one and posted on Instagram. I won't say nicer, but it's a little more along the lines of the Hubble. So it's about the same size and part count. And they're like, here you go. Here's the instructions. Pull it down. Have fun. And we're all like, hey, man, thanks. So I'm going to try to put that one together. But I think the part count's going to be a little high to order. But it'll be fun.
I looked at it on Bricklink, and I think it was like $50 to order all the parts. Which
That's not too bad. That's not terrible. And consider, I probably have, once I source it out.
Parts too.
Yeah, I probably have a good number of those parts. I was looking at it. I don't honestly have I have a lot of the gray and silvers, but not a lot of yellow or gold.
I have a lot of the gold.
Oh, because are you an Ninjago fan?
No, so they did some on Bricks and Pieces. They had that price error. It was like 2 cents a part.
Oh yeah, we have a guy in our lug who just went crazy. He has like bags of this stuff now.
I have bags of this stuff. It's a little ridiculous.
He every time I run into him for something, he's like, he kind of looks around like this and goes, "You want some gold Lego?" And I'm like, "No, man, stop trying to foist your gold Lego." And it's like he pulls it out, like it's in Ziploc bags. It's all pressed down. I'm like, a dime bag with
600 bananas.
Yeah,
People for loving their banana Lego. How big is this piece? So when you say $50 isn't bad, I don't understand Lego like price comparisons. Like,
so
does it depend on the property as much as the size of the piece, the end piece?
So here's the end piece. This would probably be about $50, $40-$50.
Okay.
The rule of thumb, if there's no Star Wars, Lord of the Ring, Mario, any property involved, it's 10 cents a brick. So if you see a set that's 300 pieces, it's $30.
That's good to know. I did not know
roughly.
Of course.
It'll go between, like, if it's 280 to 330, $30. If it's like, so it's fudged a little that way. So the promo though that we're talking about was this thing that you if you had a certain number of VIP points through Lego, which you get by buying more stuff. A couple days ago, they're like, starting at 9 a.m. in whatever time zone you are, and they staggered it out. US was one, Europe and whatever were others. You can use those points to buy this promotional satellite, right? It was called Ulysses satellite. And I forget what kind of satellite it is.
Camera on, but I can't figure out how to do it on Safari. Hold on, let me find it online.
Okay. You might, I could do it online. Yeah, why don't I do that? Ulysses satellite Lego.
And the built on Stone Wars.
So let me pull this up. And okay, so the thing is, nobody got it because Lego did not. I mean, a few people got it, but a lot of people didn't because Lego underestimated what. So this isn't. If I'm gonna make it a little bigger, it's gonna get a little pixelated, but you get the idea. Yeah. So this isn't much bigger than this, right?
Okay.
It looks like it's probably about half this size.
I think it's built that in Kerbal Space Program.
It's very likely. So anyway, that's the size of it. It'd probably go for $30-$40. It's not that expensive a set. But the idea is that if you get it for just spending money that you already spent. A lot of people spent money specifically to get their points up so they could buy it. But at 9 o'clock, when the promotion started, the site went down for 20 minutes. And then when it came back up, the item wasn't available. And then by the time a lot of us actually saw that the item was available, it was sold out. So the first time you actually see it, it's gone. Now, I did get a little high and mighty about it. Hi, Sai. Sai's usually, he's usually waving at other people, so I'm waving at him now. Sai's our resident fan from over the pond.
Howdy, Seth.
Hi, Sai.
So he comes by shortly before he goes to bed. It's 2 a.m. there, so I appreciate him coming over. I think he got. Did you get the Ulysses?
Get some rest,
Sai?
yeah.
Oh, he'll be up for a little bit. He says he's tired and wants to go to bed, and then he hangs out here for 30 minutes, so he's not that tired. Don't let him snow you.
Also, howdy, Evil Twin Mason. I saw you earlier. I just didn't want to interrupt Ben.
Oh, is he on
Twitch, looks like.
Oh, look. It's not showing up on... Oh, there he is. Yay. Hi, Mason. How are you? My friend Mason has a channel. It's Evil Twin Mason on Twitch. Evil_twin_Mason. You can see from his screen name there. He does miniatures. He paints miniatures. And his twin brother, the good twin, does printing. So they combine their forces and get a lot of cool stuff done over there. So check him out on Twitch.
Neat.
And yes, all these good-looking people. 2 of them, and then a couple round circular things that are...
I'm sure we're all round.
I prefer to keep people into the dark as to whether or not I'm actually a Kodiak.
Well, the funny thing is I don't know, 'cause knowing where you're from now, for the longest time, I just assumed you were from Wisconsin. Like, I had this thing where I'm like, no, he's from the north. He's from Canada or Wisconsin or Minnesota or something.
Very specific.
Yeah. And then Beth's like, he's not from there. And I'm like, he's not? No. Didn't he say where he's from? I was like, okay. So
Well,
yeah,
I think at one point she asked me, she's like, so are you in the Texas lug? I'm like, well, considering I'm a resident of Utah, that might be a little
That's right.
tricky.
Right. And then after that, we had the conversation of you not being in that lug. And I was like, now I remember. I will always remember.
But you didn't.
But I didn't. Well, I mean, this was a while ago.
It doesn't matter. You said you were going to remember and you didn't.
It's okay. The days bleed together over here. This is day, 7,496 of quarantine. It's,
We know nothing anymore.
Nope.
Today is day. That's what today is. It's day. What day is today? Day.
The word ending in day. But Journal Scott says he was in on that promo then. So he got in on the Star Wars promo. The secret Star Wars promo.
I think he's giving me crap about being in on a secret Star Wars promo.
Rude. I'm just kidding. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know if there is one. We all assume there was, or there's going to be a.
There will be if there's not. Anything
a special set that comes out on the 4th. We'll see. But yeah.
I feel certain that if Disney sees an opportunity to make money, then it will happen. So. Well,
if they're already coming out. So the Bad Batch is coming out on the 4th, right? Mm-hmm. So says Brad. My guess is, so the set for it, they're going to have a set which is the big Havoc Marauder class. I don't even know what class shuttle it is. It looks like a new class or an ETA class shuttle that's kind of purposely built or specifically built for them to, caravan around the galaxy doing whatever they're going to do. But that set's not coming out till August. So I don't think anything to do with them is going to come out on the 4th. Unless, now the rumor is, I don't know about this, but I think the rumor is all 5 clones will be available in the set.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're going to do something like maybe they only do, that would suck. I was thinking if they only do 4 clones in the set and then they do a 5th one 3 months early or 4 months early on this promotional thing. Anyway.
Doesn't seem like a smart move on their part, but I guess if it costs you more money, spend more money, be like, yes, one at a time. So I have a question about the Bad Batch, because I have never watched any of the Star Wars animated series, even though I want to. the animation bothers me, and it's the stopgap every time. I'm like, I'm gonna watch this. I'm gonna sit and watch this, and then I see a trailer, and I'm like, oh, I hate that. I hate the animation. I hate it. Because I love animated series, I love animated stuff, but I don't know. There's something about that animation I just hate. But maybe if Bad Batch doesn't need a pre-watch of any others, I'll start there. Just because I'm assuming they'll release it one at a time, or like they do everything else. It's like on Disney Plus. So
the Bad Batch should require minimal ramp up. I think if you don't want to watch, they should go over it a little bit at the beginning.
I mean, I do want to go watch back. I do want to. I will someday get over the animated thing, or maybe I won't, and I'll just force myself to watch it anyway. But I doubt if I will have time to get any serious headway before May 4th. So I think I might just jump in and see what happens.
So I'm gonna go ahead and I will say the beginning, like what you and I saw in the theater, was not good. That was the low point of that new style of Clone Wars animation. It gets better. It gets a lot better. Like the art rendering gets better. It's a lot smoother. And after a while, especially with Ahsoka, you start looking at Ahsoka as being done that way. Like there's no other way Ahsoka could look.
Okay.
Which made her in Mandalorian look a little weird because we're all like, no, that's not,
I really liked it, but I'm not as married to her image as you probably are. Although I am very familiar with it. And Jonathan Scott agrees with you that if they're just on the animation, just keep going. It gets better. The story gets better. So I will. I promise. I just haven't done it yet. I will.
Oh, so yeah. I guess the free gift is, and it's a gift with purchase. So you'll have to buy a Star Wars set, or you'll have to buy a set, and I think it's going to be like the Harry Potter stuff, where if you buy probably $75 to $100, you'll get I think it's probably going to be 75 or 80. I don't think they'd make you spend 100 for that, because this is going to be along the same lines as like the Endor and the Death Star 2 one, that they're these little bitty things. So maybe, but that'll be my guess, is what Sai said. That'll be a gift with purchase and not a straight up, you can just buy this with VIP points, which makes more sense. Also, I want you all to go watch Josh Builds stuff. He's another Texas, he's not in our lug, but he's another Texas Lego person. He lives like literally about 2 miles from me, and I didn't know it until after I started watching his videos. It was funny figuring out that we both lived like really close together. He lives in Round Rock. And
I think I follow him, but that might have been from an earlier stream of yours.
Yeah, I think he showed up a little bit on. I don't know if he's actually been on one of my streams. I know we've commented on each other's like Instagram stuff.
Yeah. Also, howdy Gev on Twitch.
Oh yeah,
Hello.
Gev's there too. Gev is another lug mate. He's been in our lug for a great many, probably coming up on 15 years.
He says you're a liar, liar.
Calling you out on stream, man.
What?
He says not in the lug yet.
Oh, he's in the lug. I think he's talking about Josh not being in the lug yet. Yeah, I keep talking about him joining the lug, but I don't know if he spends all his time doing videos and stuff, so I don't know if that's going to be something he's going to be wanting to get into, but I keep trying with him.
Is there a requirement to be in the lug? Do you have to build a certain amount, or?
Nope, you just have to go to the meetings.
Oh, okay. So attendance story.
Almost not even that. Like if you just ask to sign up to receive the emails from the Google group, that's kind of all you have to do. Now your participation in the group dictates, like your involvement dictates, I won't say getting prizes or anything like that, but lugs tend to get a little bit.
Good night, Sai.
Good night, Sai. Thanks for coming by.
Sai.
The registered Lego user groups will tend to get project support or lug support from Lego, meaning that if you're going to have an event they will send you.
Nope. Pieces down.
Man down. They will send you boxes and boxes of stuff, and it's usually loose brick or older sets or something like that, so that you can take this and kind of encourage the public to get along with some Legos, building at conventions, or if you've got like a thing with you can do donations to children's hospitals, things like that. So it encourages people to build and encourages people to kind of go to these events, and that drives their bottom line because they get more people buying Lego if they're encouraged to build it and stuff like that. So it kind of pays them back a little. But if you are a part of and this may be different for every lug, but at least ours, if you go to the meetings and you build something every month, and it doesn't have to be big, it could be a little thing. If you go to the conventions, there's a good chance that you will receive some of this stuff. And it could be a small amount, it could be a big amount, it could be a prize, it could just be that we have too much of it. But we try to encourage people to build more and be creative by rewarding them a little bit. So that's kind of where it shakes out. Also, if you're a member of a lug, you can participate in Lug Bulk, which is kind of a program where people can buy Lego from Lego at kind of, I won't say how much, but discounted prices. So that's kind of a benefit. Plus, there's just a lot of fun working with people and making stuff that you normally wouldn't, and having collaborative builds and things like that. So it can be fun if that's what you're into, if you're into building and stuff. Yeah, it's nice.
Do your lug friends know that, or mention at any point that a friend of mine heard your Lego commercial on NPR on the day of
on the day of the wedding?
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't realize that they were still playing that. That's hilarious. So yeah, I don't know how many people know about that outside of Austinites. I know that Glenn probably does, but our local NPR station has this thing that they do in between each like little commercial and radio show where they have somebody talk about the sound of Austin, right? Like, I'm so-and-so, and this is the sound of me going to my job, or this is the sound of me doing my job, or a hobby that I really like, or just walking through a green belt or something like that. Very Austin-y. And then it's, sounds of some birds or a piece of machinery that they work with, that kind of thing. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, sonic IDs. And sometimes it's just, somebody talking, and it's not really, it's a story they tell, but in most cases it's something, oral. And so I was like, you know what? I haven't heard anybody do Lego, and it makes that distinct, Gerstelling, as the Germans say, sound, clinking and crunching and whatnot. And so I emailed them and I was like, hey, if you want a sonic ID, I'd like to do some Lego stuff. So I bring a giant bucket of it to the studio, and they're like, yeah, bring it on by. We'll do it. And the guy, Mike Lee, and I know Meredith probably knows that name because he's like, for Austin, for KUT's Art a Minute, I'm Mike Lee or something like that. He does a bit of stuff in the channel. So I met him, and it was really weird hearing his voice after listening to KUT for 20 years. I'm like, oh my God, you're that voice. You're the guy attached to that voice,
The guy.
You're the dude. Say something about Art Eclectic, So he's like, what's funny? I've been collecting Lego for like all my life, and I never thought of doing this. I'm like, well, here you go. Here's your chance. So I tried to get him into the lug, and I told him that we had a con coming up and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's always fun to, like, when we were still going into the office, I would just be sitting there working, and somebody would come into my cube and say, hey, I heard you on the radio today. I'm like, oh, it's been about 7 weeks. They rotate through them.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really cool.
That is super neat.
Yeah, it's cool that they do that because it gives it, and I'm sure most radio stations do something along those lines where they kind of do something community oriented like that, especially if it's a public radio station, an NPR affiliate.
Howdy, Dev.
Meredith, you might know Glenn, actually. He's been to a couple of
it's Glenn.
Glenn Copeland?
Yeah, he's been to a couple of the
Glenn.
Lord of the Rings feasts?
Well, unless he went to the one where I fell asleep after you made me delicious fajitas, then I haven't met him in person. But we're interested.
Okay. There you go.
House.
Did you only go to the one? I thought you'd been to a
I've
couple.
only been to that one. Yeah.
Oh. Well, the good news is I might be able to do it this year. So you're invited.
My social calendar is clear at the moment, and I am 100% vaccinated, so I'm ready to
Same.
eat.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah.
As of Saturday, I am too.
Actually, a friend of mine, I think you know Margaret and Ramona, don't you, Ben? Or Ramona at least. Well, Margaret is not a nerd. Ramona is, and so she sort of constantly asks Margaret, like, "Hey, we want to watch this thing with us?" And she's like, "No, I don't want to. No, nope, not interested in that." But she was finally like, "Hey, let's go watch, Lord of the Rings. Let's watch all the Lord of the Rings." And Margaret was like, "All right, I'll give it a shot." And she loved it. She absolutely loved it.
Oh, good.
Which was wonderful. Then, I'm trying to tell her, we're trying to talk trivia and whatnot. And she basically can't figure out the difference between Frodo and Bilbo. She doesn't understand that they're two different.
Other than they're two different actors.
And no, exactly. I'm like, and then, are you going to watch The Hobbit? That's next. And she's like, yeah, that's about Frodo, right? And I'm like, no, it's about Bilbo. And she's like, right, the guy, oh God, what's his name? Who's the young actor who plays Frodo Baggins?
Elijah Wood.
Thank you. Elijah. She's like, Elijah Wood.
Austin native Elijah Wood. You forgot his name.
I don't think he lives here anymore. I think someone told me he moved. But yes, former, or maybe still is. Austin,
yeah, we should stop using his memes then of him riding that scooter.
But it's still funny.
Memes
never die. If it's a good meme, it's good forever. But yeah, and so I'm like, and she's like, yeah, he's played by Martin Freeman in The Hobbit. I'm like, no. He's not playing a different character. That's a different character.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's played by Harry Potter, the guy who played Harry Potter, right? That's the same guy?
Yep. Yeah, same dude. So that part didn't work out too well. But she still had fun watching it, which is all that matters.
Good. Or is she going to be excited to see the Amazon Prime Lord of the Rings thing?
Know about that. I actually just saw something about it briefly recently, so I didn't think that we were talking about it.
I'm out of the loop on this. What's going on?
I don't know a lot either.
As with most things.
I'm constantly tardy to the party, so I feel you, Brad. I'm constantly tardy.
I'm very lost.
I'm never ahead of the game.
I think, now, nerds, correct me if I'm wrong, that they're going to do some stories from the Silmarillion, which is the Bible version of Lord of the Rings. So imagine Lord of the Rings exists, and it seems like a really long story, right? Because it always says in the third age of men or in the whatever age, for 10,000 years, it's that kind of stuff. So the Silmarillion is basically like the Bible of Lord of the Rings. It's the beginning of the universe through the age of men, right? In the age of men, actually, the stories that they tell go a little past at the end of the Lord of the Rings. And the Lord of the Rings actually exists in the Silmarillion. They tell of it briefly, but it's like in passing. It says like, and here's the tale of of Gandalf.
And one thing led to another.
You're right. And yada, yada, yada. And there was a volcano. I mentioned the bisque. So they're calling it just like a general Lord of the Rings story or show. But I'm thinking what they're doing is they're taking stories from the Silmarillion, some of the more cogent stories. Like some of these it's like so-and-so begat so-and-so begat so-and-so. And it's really dry and dull. It's really hard to read.
It says...
I've only read it 3 times.
Spoiler alert, all of Tolkien's books are dry and hard to read.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that because I usually give Lord of the Rings a once over every couple years. Like, I haven't read that in a while, and I'm like, oh my God, it's going to take forever.
I could barely get through The Hobbit. It was hard for me. It says that Tolkien's Second Age era. Prior to
Second Age.
of Lord of the Rings.
So Second Age is, if I remember correctly, is so at the you know what's funny? Google Stephen Colbert and Lord of the Rings. He is a giant nerd.
No, I do know all about that. I love it. That's a great
Yeah.
idea.
And he will go off on like the whole history of the backstory of the world of I can't. It's not. It's EU. It's AU, pronounced AU. That's the world, right? And it talks about like the first creature it basically sang the world into existence. And so, which is why in the book of Lord of the Rings, there's a song like every 5 pages, is because the world was literally built out of, well, yeah, but the story is the world was literally built out of music. So there's songs everywhere, right?
It sounds like an awesome place. Like living in a musical sounds like heaven to me, except I can't sing, but I want to hear it, except if it's the Lord of the Rings universe.
Oh my God. Well, and just imagine all the songs are like the dwarf songs from The Hobbit, where everything is, and you're just like,
to tell you. So I was telling Margaret the story about how I saw the first trailer for The Hobbit at but Nonathon that year. And I was telling her about the whole situation Elijah Wood was attending, because he, of course, is a huge movie nerd. And it was for Harry Knowles' birthday. And so he, of course, can do whatever he wants. And so he ended up asking him to play the trailer 4 times in a row. He's like, play it again, play it again. And so we watch it again and again. And it's a great trailer, right? And it's a great movie. I love Lord of the Rings, the films and the book and the movies, not the books, but I love all of it, movies wise, not books wise. On the books. But by the 4th take, like the 4th seeing it, I sort of say to no one in particular, I'm like, God, I hate that song. Because the song is in the trailer, right? The dwarf song is in the trailer. So I'm like, God, it's so good, except for that fucking song. And everybody goes, like, you would have thought I said that Hitler was a good guy.
oh my God.
Like, nope. No, sister, you were incorrect. And I'm like, dude.
I'm siding with you on this, because the first time.
No, I don't have a mountain. And and I'm like, oh my God.
So I'm Catholic, and it reminds me of being in church. It's just this dirgy, joyless, it's like, yeah. Like,
I thought you were pirates, which is more Catholic church, probably.
I thought you dwarves were a lively, happy bunch.
Right?
This sounds like an Elvish song, not Elvish.
It's actually why I hate the ends, because there's like 7 different endings of Return of the King. Any one of them would have been appropriate, but they use all 7. And one of them is a song, and I'm like, oh my God, why am I listening to this song? And everybody's like, what are you talking about? That's the best part. And Margaret was even like, I love the songs. And I'm like, nope. You are
is
wrong.
this
All of humanity is wrong.
One of the Enya songs at the end of...
I can't. But the songs, I don't understand.
Music can totally make a movie or ruin a movie.
Yeah. Well, and I think the soundtrack for Lord of the Rings is just amazing. Howard Shore did the music for it.
I'm learning more about soundtracks now, like background music type stuff. That's probably not the right word, but you know what I mean? Atmospheric.
The track.
Yeah, assigning songs to certain characters and certain situations, and I'm learning more about it. I have friends who are legit music nerds, study music and all that good stuff, and so they're teaching me their wisdom, and it's fascinating if you really pay attention. So I'm trying to learn more about it. Certain things like that.
I have a guilty pleasure of going down rabbit holes of music theory. I took music theory in college, and it never really got me anywhere because I switched my major so many times that I just kind of stopped going to college after a while. But music theory always really got me. It was like math with music, and just loved the crap out of it. And now I'm watching, this lady, there's an Austin lady named IXI Music, IXI Music. And she does a lot of like EDM and trip hop and stuff like that, real chill out music. But she started doing music appreciation for 9 Inch Nails and doing like.
I bet that was good.
Oh, it's like half of me wants to say, maybe he just liked the way that sounded. But she's like, no, this is the triant third, or this is a recession or receding fifth, and all this kind of different musical theory stuff. She's like, you feel uncomfortable because he's using these notes, and you feel rushed because he's using this. It's very, and I'm just like, is that why I like it so much? But she's also
purpose. I feel like she's right that it's probably on purpose with Trent Reznor. He seems like a thinker.
Yeah. Well, the thing about him too is if you listen to like all his soundtrack stuff, like The Social Network or Soul, anything that he has a hand in kind of doing, it's the same motifs. Like you can hear, before I even knew that he did the music for Soul, that like the soundtrack music, not the jazz part of it.
Right.
But I was just like,
taste.
What's that?
You can hear their taste. You just know.
Oh yeah.
Person.
You can hear the things that are important to them, right? We may not think of it as being particularly a smart reason to do it or mathematical reason to do it, but whatever reason they're doing it, you can hear it. It's just like you can hear somebody go, "Oh, that's a John Williams piece," or "This is a whatever. Howard. This is obviously Howard Shore or Michael Giancarlo, however you say his name." You can definitely hear Nine Inch Nails, Atticus Scott, I think is the other guy's name. Them working together is definitely easily picked up.
A particular sound.
Yeah.
I am not that orally sensitive yet, where I can pick stuff like that out generally. Sometimes I can if it's super duper obvious.
Right.
I do know that I don't know if he still does, but Trent Reznor used to live in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And I was taking a tour with a really cool, like, old man that lived there forever and, walking around in Crocs, telling all the cool stories. And we went through the Garden District and he pointed out Trent Reznor's home and told a story about how a friend of his had, this was back years ago, didn't have a cell phone and his car broke down or her car broke down like right before his house. And so she's like, oh crap. Well, I need to call a tow truck, but I don't have a phone. So she like knocks on the door and she's like, hi, I'm so sorry. My car's out of gas or something's wrong with it. I need to call a tow truck, but I don't have a phone. Can I just, real quick borrow your phone and then I'll, get out of your hair. And he's like, oh, of course. Sure. And he answered the door and he let her in and she had no idea who he was. And
just, he lives in the Garden District, it can't be anybody famous.
Can't be anybody with money. So she goes, he's like, yeah, the phone's in the kitchen. So she goes, follows him into the kitchen and she's making the phone call. And she's like, well, I need to be out of here as soon as humanly possible because the wallpaper was like bondage scenes. And she's like, okay, well, thank you. I'm going to wait outside. No, really, I'm going to wait outside. Thank you. And somebody later, she told that story and they're like, that was Trent Reznor's house. And she's like, I don't know who that is. And he's like, Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, closer. Blah, blah.
Everybody knows who Nine Inch Nails is, whether they know Trent Reznor's name or not.
Well, yeah. And who knows what he looked like at the time, but she's like, yeah, he has a freaky deaky kitchen. So
I'm going to go ahead and tell you he probably hasn't changed how he looks in 20, 30 years.
He got jacked at some point in the last 20 years. He used to be super skinny at some point, and then super not. Super like...
kind of dad bod kind of thing.
No, like cut, like super muscle.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I don't know what he looks like now. It might be dad bod, which is fine. But, I remember skinny Trent Reznor and then, max muscles Trent Reznor. But if there's anything that's happened since then, I don't know about it. Hi, Pink Amethyst.
Egads.
Pink Amethyst. Hello. How are you, Pink Amethyst?
I was going to say, Ben, if not to recommend another YouTube channel on your YouTube channel.
No, but do it.
As far as music theory, there's a guy goes by Sideways who does some excellent music theory stuff.
I just started watching him a couple weeks ago. There's like 4 or 5 that I watch, and they're all like, you just kind of see that. It's like I watch Rick Beato and Alan. What's the guy's last name? I can't remember. I just watched the thing that he put out about Celine Dion hitting that key change note in whatever that song is, that famous song. All by myself. Thank you, Beth.
I thought you were going to say the Titanic song, which I don't. It's probably got a real name, but I don't know.
No. So the funny thing about the All by Myself song is it was written by a guy in the 70s. He had a band and never really got super famous because of it, but you know the song, right? Everybody knows the song. And he wrote it based off a Rachmaninoff song. Like he really liked this bit of music from a Rachmaninoff song. So he kind of used that as part of the chorus. And then he did the verses in a different sort of style. And then threw some lyrics around it and really liked it. Well, he thought it was in the public domain and it wasn't.
Ooh.
So now that song All by Myself says it's written by Matthew or David or whatever his name was and Rachmaninoff, which means Rachmaninoff has one of the highest charting songs of all time because this was a high charting song.
Huh.
Awesome. And also, did he owe anybody any money? That's my question.
Yeah, the estate of Rachmaninoff, I guess. And I may be wrong about it being Rachmaninoff too. It may have been Chopin, and maybe I just just watched it this afternoon and I don't remember. But the video that I was watching was about how she sings this song all the time.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's very powerful, and she gets that, there's a key change in which she's holding a very quiet part. She's singing by herself. There's no music and accompanying her. And then she says, anymore, and changes the key. And then the band comes in and she just kills it and rocks it.
Hell yeah.
And there was one concert she did, man down, that her husband had died and then her brother had died like a few days later. So she was in kind of a bad way and did a concert probably a month or so later and was singing this song. And she got to that really emotional part about being by yourself. And now I'm no longer by myself. And she hit that really high note and then couldn't continue singing. Part of it being an emotional reaction, but also part of it, and this is where the music theory got into it, is because of the way the harmonics changed and the energy that it takes to shift a harmonic like that is something like if you see her ever sing it, she like stands very straight and gets really ready to go and then does it. And it's not just a sustain so she can sustain the note. It's that she's got to make this change and then the band comes in and follows her. And it's just like a wavelength shift and all this stuff. I'm like, this is utterly freaking fascinating.
I would say that is fascinating.
And
if you're interested in, I don't know about the music theory part, specifically, but I am a TikTok baby because I don't know a lot about these young people platforms and whatnot. But there's a fantastic singer on there called Sam Hare Wolfrider, and he's so good. Like his vocal, I don't know the terminology, but his vocal quality and ability is so good that multiple vocal teachers have commented on his ability to make these key changes in such a short amount of time. I'll have to send you a link because it's fascinating. Because it sounds like it's not even a real person singing. They're just so, even to my untrained ear, so different in such a short period of time.
Yeah, you're like, is that a robot? What's going on?
Is that a robot? What's happening right now? It's not an android voice. But
it's Data singing.
And he probably is famous for something. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know anything about TikTok, but I just love listening to him sing because he's just so good that, how could you not want to listen to him?
There's another musician that his voice is really good. He has a high rocker voice, is able to get really up there and hit some good high notes. But he also does this thing where, and he kind of got a little fame based off this, but he turns all these songs into minor key. So he will take, just like name a song and he'll like recreate it, but as a less happy sounding song. And it makes the songs very interesting because, let's take Animal by Neon Trees, right? It's kind of like a rompy, sexy kind of song about, it sounds very party-like and the inability to kind of remove yourself from somebody's presence because you're physically attracted to them kind of thing. But it's all kind of in good fun. You're like, oh, this is, you're at the club and you're sweating and this lady's really, or guy's really hot or whatever. And he takes it and turns it, it sounds like a stalker. It sounds like this guy is creeping on somebody and you're like, oh God, this does not sound good.
Interesting.
And
I like people putting things on their head.
Yeah. And he's got one, his name is Chase Hofelder. He's got a song that he redid of Mariah Carey's Christmas song, whatever that was.
All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Yeah. And so he redid it into this like emo kind of song, and it sounds haunting, and it's just, and it's like,
I
he
bet
gets
it
the, and it
does.
just like belts it out, and I'm like, this is the only version of the song that needs to exist. It's so perfect.
You shut your drunk mouth. That is a great song.
So
It probably is, you know.
So on TikTok, there's another artist, my dear friend who's sitting in the chat introduced me to. Guy goes by Robert Grace, and his whole shtick on TikTok is that he takes like melodies for things that like shouldn't be melodies. The example that pops immediately to mind is that he found this video of just this frog that's like chirping into the night. And turned it into this bass line for a song, and it's very like catchy and
That sounds cool.
it's interesting. And in the TikTok, he like goes into the process of how he actually makes the songs, and then sort of gives you like the finished product at the end. They're fun. It's interesting.
Yeah.
What was the name again?
Robert Grace.
Okay.
And the song with the frog is called No Hope,
I'm going to look that up right now.
aka the frog song.
Okay, the frog song.
Maybe I'm missing something by not being on this TikTok.
You're probably
no.
not.
So
sure
I downloaded it because my dear friend, again sitting in the chat, hello, she wanted to send me stuff but was like, oh, there's some things that won't let me download to my phone, and I was like, ugh, fine, I'll be a zoomer.
if you insist.
I'll download TikTok so you can send it. And then I actually started exploring it myself and was like, uh-oh.
It's addictive.
Well, I have.
It is addictive. I'm really bad about keeping up with anything social media related, but similar, a friend of mine kept sending me stuff, and I was like, you know what? Let me just put this on here so I'll know. And so I basically follow like 4 people, and it's all the people that have been sent to me by someone else.
Yep.
But they're so good.
With
It makes sense.
Instagram.
I just
I'm an
wait
Instagram
for
person.
others to curate to me. I'm not good with any of the social media. I guess Facebook, because I'm old.
I'm awful with Facebook.
Is the closest that I'm good at, and then Instagram, and then I don't know.
I'm awful with Twitter.
I'm not. Oh, I don't. Yeah.
I didn't make a single post and I got banned on Twitter, so that was amazing.
I was gonna say that's impressive. Yeah, good job.
Yep.
They just got
I'm
you live.
I'm still proud of that one. I have yet to go to speedrun.com to see if I made it onto the leaderboard at all.
Yeah, I don't know why. I like the idea of social media. I'm just not good at it. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I have teenage children, so I kind of have to at least know what's going on.
Sure.
I've done 3 TikTok videos of my own. One got a lot of likes,
That's cool.
and then the other 2 did not, even though they were kind of exactly the same.
Mhm.
So I don't have any idea like what's going on.
Probably just what the algorithm of.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is so-and-so's first video. Let's give them a lot of views. And after that, they're like, yeah, he's not doing it for me now.
Yeah, I think so.
But my son Greg keeps sending me like daily. He'll send me 2 or 3, and I watch them. And some of them are funny. Like my favorites are the ones where young kids, and I say young, they're probably his age, but they're doing impressions. And it's always some weird Star Wars impression. Like somebody comes up and says, Anakin, something like that. And,
Awesome.
something about the high ground. And then they show, and then maybe make a joke about Yoda being short, something like that. They're all pretty good and funny, but and then I get the ones from my daughter who she just thinks they're hilarious. And I watch them. I go, okay, I missed something. Let me watch it again. I'll watch it 2 or 3 times. I'll go, yeah,
I don't get this.
entertainment is broken now.
Yeah, that happens to me on the regular. I think was it Journal of the Scrolls who said, Journal of the Scots, did you say that your kids aren't into Star Wars?
Yeah. I wanted to comment on that earlier, but I have no kids, so I don't.
No, well, I was going to say, and I apologize for not mentioning it sooner. We get off on tangents.
No, let's talk about Star Wars.
Well, it's so funny that you say that because I have two. I don't have children either, but I have two nephews. They're 21 and 24, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest time, like I couldn't get them into movies in general and Star Wars in particular. And they just weren't interested. They were the YouTube generation. They really liked Jackass type stuff. You remember that guy from the MTV, and he would just do dumb things, dumb shit, and he would just get. Oh, I hate that guy. I hate that whole thing. But if you are a fan, allow me to plug my nephew. My oldest nephew has his own dumbass channel where he does dumbass things for likes called Kegel Weagle. It's not my jam, but that was their thing forever. And so we just, didn't have too much to talk about. And then
was one of those on Kimmel? Is that the one that was on?
Yeah, that was the one that was on Jimmy Kimmel. My nephew Keegan. He was in that bit about which do you like better, Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, which is the same thing. In case you don't know, I feel like you probably do. This is the right crowd, but you will know that. But just in case, it's the same thing. And my nephew was interviewed for that. So yeah. He's hard to miss in that. So neither one of them, were really into sort of traditional anything for a long time. Or I shouldn't say that, I'm sorry. Traditional media that I was familiar with until The Force Awakens came out. And then Cooper, my youngest nephew, who is 21, suddenly developed a huge love for Star Wars and was just suddenly going back and watching everything he could get his hands on, texting me in the middle of the night about trivia that he, discovered. And of course, I'm ecstatic because I'm like, oh, finally. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm like taking him to the dermatologist and we're standing in the lobby discussing the viewing order of films and, things like that. And he actually decided to study film. He studies film now at Texas State, which is pretty awesome. But, so don't give up hope, Journal, is what I'm telling you. You said they love Ewoks, they love Grogu. They love Ray. Just keep the faith. Something will come out eventually, and it will click. They'll be like, "Oh God, so good! Can't miss it." Even my father, who is 73, my parents are both 73, and they are not nerds, but they like nerdy things, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so I went home to visit. They live in Waller, Texas. I went home to visit a couple weeks ago. We get in there and we're talking about whatever and the drive, and it's about 2 hours away. And my dad goes, "Oh, I have a question about the latest Star Wars movie." And I'm like, "I'm ready, Dad. Give it to me. What is your question?"
I've been waiting my whole life for this.
Yeah, I'm waiting your whole life for this. And he's like, he wanted to know about, I guess he was confused about how Rey at the very end says that she's Rey Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "She's not a Skywalker, is she?" And I'm like, "No." And
No.
the whole thing. And I'm like, "Oh, it's happening. It's finally happening. Thank you."
We've got a guy that I work with who he's kind of an old curmudgeon, but he's not much older than I am, but he's got the mentality of an old curmudgeon. Mm-hmm. He's a nice enough guy. He was native Texan, I'm pretty sure, went to UT, but he went for like programming or something. And so he's just kind of like an insurance agent kind of guy, but he's fun. Like he's got this weird sort of snarky streak to him. He gives me so much crap about all the nerdy stuff that I'm into. And he doesn't care, right? He just does it to get a rise out of me. Sure. So every time a new movie comes out and we're talking about it, we play like a non-betting card game at work on Wednesdays for lunch. We go sit in a conference room and chit chat. And sometimes we watch videos and stuff. There's a handful of us that do it. And so like, I'll be like, "Oh, did you guys see the new trailer for whatever it is? X-Men movie, Star Wars movie, Star Trek, something." He knows enough about every property to where he says, like if the new Star Wars was coming out, he goes, "Is that the one with Frodo or Bilbo?" And he just knows. And then he's just back and goes, because he knows. And now I just go, I'm not even looking at you, man. I'm not gonna take the bait.
Button pusher.
Yeah.
Them.
So I've been I kind of lean into it now. Somebody posted a GIF in our Teams chat, or posted something. So I posted a GIF of Theodred saying, "You have no power here," right?
Perfect.
And so I tagged him and I was like, I'm going to explain to Burke that this is, and then I said something weird. I said like, this is Captain Kirk or something.
Oh, did she steal your throne?
Perfect.
Oh,
Yeah, I said
so much drama.
You have no power here.
I love explaining memes to people.
Oh, that one's done. Yay.
I did one recently, and somehow we were talking. It was in a work Teams meeting, and somehow someone was talking about someone always being late, and I said, "Oh, it's just like this meme I just found, and it's Grogu, Baby Yoda, holding the soup cup, but they've exchanged it for a Starbucks cup, and it says, due to overwhelming personal issues that I refuse to work on, I will be arriving 20 minutes late with an iced latte." And I'm like, "That's me." Going. Memes are the best. I would conversate memes forever if I were allowed to. I would just back.
If I could figure out a way to attach my phone up here and just walk around and just scroll, scroll GIF responses. Somebody talks to me and I just go, and it has a GIF response. That's all I want to do. That's it.
So I recently had the somewhat Herculean task of describing what memes are to my grandmother.
Ooh, that's a hard one.
Did you start with the old French meaning of the word?
What I came down to was basically equating it to an inside joke that you and hundreds of thousands of other people have.
That's a good way. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I like it. That makes sense.
I mean, because even if we didn't have the internet, that's still the meaning of the word. You know, it's like a communal idea that many people understand.
There are
that's
things
apt
that I have never seen, but I still get because of pop culture osmosis. Like you just, know, eventually you just have to figure it out that it pertains to something.
Well, it's at some point it gets to a point where, like, my friend's mom, she it was something to the effect of like had I can't remember if it was like a fish or something that was just on the sidewalk, like, drowning or whatever the fish equivalent is. And my friend showed it to her mom and was like, "Ha, me." And her mom just didn't see, you guys get it. But her mom didn't understand. She's like, "You're not a fish. Like, what do you mean, me?" It's like, well, it's how I feel. It's, do
you double down and say it's a vibe? It's a mood.
That's hilarious.
That fish on the sidewalk is a mood.
Mood, exactly.
A mood what? Is it angry?
Also, sorry, Pink Amethyst, I'm stealing all your stories.
Oh, is that your... I kind of thought it was, but I wasn't sure. Okay. Was this the one that you read the audio versions of your terrible books with?
I'm not going to answer on the basis that the answer is yes.
That's amazing. How's the writing going, by the way?
Where's the mute button?
Okay, so it's good. It's going really well.
It's going.
I'm going to take it from here.
About as swimmingly as it could be.
Okay, so you're a writer, which means you ran out of whiskey, and it's not raining where you are. So
I love the term swimmingly, FYI. It's one of my favorites. And my dog is growling at me because she needs to potty. A shower turn.
Okay.
No worries.
You got anywhere between 20 and 50 minutes left, depending on how far we want to go.
And fair enough. So I've been kind of focusing on like the digital instructions for
for Darth.
For Darth, and then otherwise, otherwise I've just kind of been, I guess, vibing, dealing with the pandemic, and I've been meaning to get started on my second book. I haven't actually done it.
Well, it's hard to force a muse. I get that.
It's like I have a lot of great ideas for it, And that's the thing. I've always been great at coming up with ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Committing them to the page is an entirely different beast.
Yeah. Well, it's not just having only almost written some science fiction and comic books.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what it's like, but I would assume that the task is more Herculean than it would be just, hey, I've got this idea and I'm just going to throw it out there.
You're not far off with the whiskey.
Yeah. That seems stereotypical, but everybody I talk to who is a writer is like, I can't write right now. I'm not drunk. It's like, fair enough. All right.
Yeah,
and I only know a couple of writers. So.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, my dad's an alcoholic. My mom's an alcoholic. My stepmom was an alcoholic, and stepdad was an alcoholic. I have like the odds of me becoming an alcoholic are just so insane. So
I went into a field that pretty much ensured that you become an alcoholic.
Basically, which is amazing that I have thusly avoided alcohol.
Yeah.
Like I have some vodka that I cook with occasionally, very occasionally. But that being said, the final couple months of like editing and actually getting my first book ready to publish and ready to go, like I got it. I finally understood where that stereotype comes from and that it's real.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't even begin to imagine that. I've got a handful of ideas that I've always wanted to get down on paper, but I have sort of a visual way of thinking, and my brain would go, okay, well, this is great, but it needs to be a comic book. And then I would just give up on the whole thing because I'm like, I know what it takes to do a comic book, and I don't want to do that anymore. I gave up on that for a reason. But I have a friend who I went to high school with who moved to the same area we're in now, and he's got a book that he's looking to get published. And I feel bad because he's like, do you want to read a copy? I was like, I would love to read a copy. I think that'd be great. It's a kind of a science fiction-y adventure kind of story, a crime story. I'm like, this sounds great.
Neat.
And but I don't have a physical copy of it. I'm a book person. I'm not a
sure
read it off the phone or anything, but he only has a PDF of it. I'm like, so
yep.
I read it in spurts. When I get done with a book, I like read it for a little bit and I'm like, nope, can't read off a phone anymore. And then I go read an actual book. I don't mean like his book's not an actual book, but like a physical book.
Yep. I know what you meant.
But so far it's pretty good. I'm wishing him luck. But again, because of the pandemic, I haven't been able to see him or anybody for like a year.
Sure.
So Brad, what are you doing other than hanging around down here?
Well, I was taking apart a few sets and mocks, but other than that, I'm winding down for the night. It's getting ready.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
You're in actually New Jersey.
Yes.
So.
Oh, actually, unironically, New Jersey.
Right. Yeah. That would suck to ironically be from New Jersey. It's like, you do realize you can move. I mean, we're not all, we're not looking very fondly upon you.
I know.
I grew up in Denver and I had a friend who moved to New York to pursue acting and poetry and stuff like that. And apparently she couldn't do it in Colorado. But when I found out she lived in New Jersey, I was just like, you're like a train's right away from New York. She's like, yeah, but it's expensive. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it really is.
And now she lives in Queens. So I'm like, okay, well, at least you traded up a little bit.
I think it's going to be expensive too.
It all depends on your point of view.
Yep.
You'll find a great many things depend on our point of view. Leia's my sister? That's gross. So if you guys haven't checked it out, go on YouTube and look up Robot Chicken Mandalorian.
Oh.
There's a scene. Yeah, it's so funny. Boba Fett, it's like Boba Fett, Robot Chicken, Mandalorian. It makes me laugh I watch it once every couple days because I loved Robot Chicken so much.
I like Robot Chicken too. I never watch it regularly, but
I didn't either. I watched it. I watched like all the super cuts on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
Watch later.
Whenever someone sends me something.
No, YouTube. I would not like to buy season 2 of Robot Chicken. Thank you.
All right.
Journal might leave us soon because he got his second shot today. Congratulations!
Ooh, congrats and good luck.
Ooh.
Yeah, if you got it today, you are going to. You're gonna hate life tomorrow.
Yeah.
What flavor did you get?
I got the Moderna, and I laid low on the second day. It was not as bad as a real flu or, of course, COVID, but
Sure.
I did not feel super hot. But I had planned ahead, so I was good.
I took the day off.
Mine have experienced nothing. They have not had any symptoms either shot. So yeah, Journal. The next day I had the flu essentially.
Yeah.
I got the Johnson, and you remember how you asked me, Ben, if I was taking the following day off work? And I said, I was like, oh, I'm built different. It's fine. I made it to like 2:00, and then I just like shambled home. That was as far as I could make it.
Like I'm done.
What the hell's an aluminum falcon?
I love it.
Hopefully you're not getting a blood clot. Apparently, hopefully you're past that.
Yeah, I've heard that happen with a couple of people. Like Walgreens sent me the email that was like, hey, there's like a 1 in several 100,000 chance that it could happen.
One in a million.
Yeah, if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, like please let us know. And I'm like, cool. I'm not feeling any of those.
Are you a woman between 18 and 35?
As it happens, I am not.
I know they paused it. I don't know if they have unpaused it.
They did. They unpaused it.
They did. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did read even when they paused it that still the possible side effects, aka blood clot, were still less.
So they did the same thing with the AstraZeneca one in Europe, where they're like, we couldn't find really anything that said that getting a blood clot naturally was out of the realm of possibility, whether you got this vaccination or not.
Sure.
There just wasn't enough evidence to say that this was directly linked to the vaccine.
Gotcha.
Like it would have happened to these people maybe anyway.
Yeah.
And the risk was very, very low. So they're like, yeah, we're just gonna keep doing it.
Every so often when I get the hiccups, I have to refrain from quoting the King of Town from homestarrunner.com. If someone asks if I have hiccups, and I correct them and say, those are in fact heart attacks.
The King of Town.
The only
oh my God.
I'm familiar with is the one that they made into an Alamo bumper.
With the actual puppet?
No. Well, they did that one too, but there was one where they edited one of the cartoons and it was Strong Bad talking about how he wasn't allowed to go to the movies anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
People talking in the theater. And he's like, do you not see this giant movie over there? You don't want to sit around and suck out loud places' clothes? And so that's the only Homestar Runner.
Please turn off your RPGs before the movie.
I loved Homestar Runner so much.
Phone books.
That's some good stuff.
Yeah, I quote it regularly, but none, like almost no one I work with like gets the references.
I would only it's the only one episode I've seen because I did actually find that particular episode after seeing that bumper, and so that's the only one I've got.
Yeah, they're all on YouTube. At least all the Strong Bad emails are. I'm pretty sure there were
most of that.
I think they might have most of the shorts on YouTube. It's great. It's like even as an adult, like it holds up.
I love animated stuff. I just let's see. Wait a minute. So I just finished the new Animaniacs.
Okay.
Which I really enjoyed because I love the originals. And I've started Bob's Burgers up again. I love Bob's Burgers.
Classic.
For some reason in my head, I'd only gotten to like season 2, but I'm actually in the middle of season 7, which may not be a lot. I haven't looked to see how far it goes, but so I've been watching those, which, God, they're so funny. I just love those I love those Belchers, man. They're so funny. Gravity Falls is fantastic. If it's a good story, I don't care how it's.
Oh, I like Gravity Falls. It's
Gravity
great.
Falls is the best.
That is not a kid's show, and everyone knows.
No.
All the best kid shows are not kid shows, and that
Yeah.
The best non-kid reference I ever saw in a cartoon was I was watching SpongeBob because my kids are about that age, and SpongeBob was one of the only things they really wanted to watch, and that we'd let them watch because there were some cartoons where like, there's no way in hell we're letting you watch that.
Sure.
Like what? Tell me about Bus
well, like The Simpsons, they really wanted to watch The Simpsons and Futurama, but they were little kids, and I'm kind of like,
I get it.
The bad influence type cartoons. Even some Disney cartoons were like, nah. And then later when they got older, we're like, yeah, we don't care what you watch,
I watched Futurama and Simpsons growing up, and I turned out fine.
Did you? I feel like
crippling depression aside, absolutely.
11, yes. Yeah, I'm at 7. I'm in the middle of 7 right now. I just got to their Christmas episode, which was so good. Nice. So I'll keep watching. Don't worry, because I love the Belchers.
Nice.
So there was a SpongeBob episode we were watching, and something happened comedically or kind of unexpectedly, and they showed SpongeBob, and he just goes, and he totally pulls a Jack Benny, and I'm watching it. I'm like, which is something Frasier would do all the time. Like he would just sit there and go, which is Jack Benny's reaction to everything. And I'm like, was this written by 78-year-old men? Because that is not something a kid's going to get. That's a throwaway bit that the creators of Animaniacs put in here because they know that we're watching it.
So my parents were of the opinion. So I was the third kid of 3, and so they were like, she's going to be fine. Rub some dirt in it. They didn't care. They were done. They were like, whatever, she'll be fine. They figured it out that kids, will
kids
survive.
Are pretty indestructible.
Yeah, and so both mentally and physically. And so they let me watch whatever I wanted. It didn't matter. If I wanted to watch it, I could. I was never allowed to repeat it out loud, though, was the big thing. So, for example, my favorite musical growing up was Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. And I would watch it when I was 6, back to back with Annie. I had Annie and Best Little Whorehouse in Texas on a VHS tape, back to back, and I would just over and over again. And so I'm like, 6 years old, singing about customers are coming, they're a coming, and I don't know what that means, which was fine in the house, but I had to call it the Best Little House in Texas. Couldn't say the word whore, and so. It didn't matter. I could watch anything. Didn't matter as long as I didn't repeat it out loud. Sure. If I did it to my friends. But my nephews weren't allowed to watch because they're from that same, probably this, a little bit older than your kids, Ben, and they were not allowed to watch SpongeBob or Cow and Chicken. Because specifically SpongeBob, I remember because the boys got sarcastic attitude problems when they watched SpongeBob, and which I can see if you start developing your responses from SpongeBob, you're like, oh, little shit in it.
That's kind of what happened when they started getting a little older, like when Rowan was starting to be a kind of a tween age. She was watching everything like Wizards of Waverly Place and iCarly and some shows of that ilk, Hannah Montana, that kind of stuff. And just like every one of those shows is just kids being snarky and mean and crappy to each other. And so then when she starts acting like that to us, we're like, nope, guess you're never watching that show again. Yeah,
that was their reasoning as well. So, which I get it. No judgment. Yeah. Everybody's different, thank God. But I've loved cartoons ever. Love an animated series. It's all good. As long as it's got good animation. That's why I still haven't given Star Wars a new look. But like even before Disney Plus came out, there's a new Mickey Mouse short, which is basically like a 2-minute cartoon that I love. And I can't tell you the difference between animations. I know that there's probably, a specific categorization difference, but I don't know what it is. But I love it because it's a little more old school. And
I saw something on there about that.
Yeah, and I just really enjoy it. And so I love the new Mickey Mouse shorts. They're all on Disney Plus, and I highly recommend them. One of the things I love about them is that they actually do shorts in other languages, in other countries, and then they don't put subtitles in there. And so, not that a small kid could probably even read subtitles, but they, are in Korea, and they do, this whole thing in Korean, and kids just figure out, what's happening based on what's happening on the screen, which I love. I'm like, yes, more, cultural intersectivity. Let's see it all.
Sure.
Plus, I love what I would consider more old school animation. I guess I need to learn my terms before I poo-poo any particular kind of animation, which is probably more expensive and harder to do in the long run. But
Yeah. I mean, my personal hot take is that King of the Hill is an anime.
That's fair. I don't disagree with that. I love King of the Hill. Oh my God, Bobby, dude, that's my purse. I don't know. God, I love that kid.
Classic memes.
I really wish that Michaela was on because she's a born and bred Texan, and she had a stream the other day that was like, what character she does a Texans Tuesday, or she started doing it. I stopped going for reasons, but I like her streams, and I like her. And she's like, "What character are you going to be for our King of the Hill thing?" And I was like, I think I'm Hank. Like, I'm really boring. She's like, "Yeah, you're a Hank. You're a dad. You're a Hank." And I'm like, "Oh man."
Oh, you're not.
No, that's fine. I don't want to be Boomhauer. I don't want to be Dale.
Well, no, that's fair. I guess if you replace Pain with like Lego or something fun.
Right, yeah.
That makes sense.
Buy me some ABS accessories.
I do have to say, as an American, Texas Tuesday is the most American thing I have ever heard.
Yeah. Well, it's usually Taco Tuesday, but
right.
I don't know what Texas Tuesday is.
It's just a thing that she made up because she was talking with a couple other Texan YouTuber kind of things on Tuesday. So just happened to go with that.
That sounds like an excellent plan for me. And also, thank you for trying to mash up my two favorite musicals, Annie and Bethel.
Okay.
Even Restream is like, no, whore is a bad word.
Yeah. Well, I think that's Twitch. I think Twitch is doing it. I don't know if it's automated or if because I could probably go in there and tell it not to because I don't care, but it might be like a system-wide thing. I don't know.
That would not surprise me.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's all kinds of technical difficulties with doing things like this. I'm
lucky I get this going, so.
Fair enough.
I remember when I was in grade school. I was between junior high, so 6th to 8th grade. I went to junior high in Wyoming, and we were reading some book, and they mentioned a word that none of the other kids knew about, and I can't remember what the word was. I guess maybe it was probably brothel, and one of the guys is like, "What's a brothel?" And the teacher's like, "That is a place where women of ill repute go to be with men." And he goes, "What?" And I said, "Whorehouse," real loud. And he's like, "Oh,
because it's a hard knock life. I mean, you got those two like
you're never fully dressed without a smile." And some cowboy boots and some naked booties.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome. So it's 9:30. I usually cut this about 9:30, but since we're chatting, if anybody wants to go till 10, we can go till 10. If everyone's tired, we can just kill it. It's all up to you guys.
It's 8:30 here, and I have nothing else going on.
Fantastic.
Chatting if you guys are.
Yeah, it's 10:30 in Jersey.
I'm gonna hop off. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining, Brad.
If we want to make this a regular thing, I'll let you know. But let me know when you're interested, and we'll do it again.
Let me know. I'm off on Tuesdays from work, so
perfect days. That'll be great.
Good night.
Thanks for stopping in, man.
Night, guys.
Night.
Cheers.
Yeah, so that's I should put his thing up too now that he's gone. Bad host.
Yeah, you know Glenn. Glenn knows what's up. Let me see. I made notes. I've been making notes.
I had a whole sheet of notes too.
Yeah,
Also,
so let's.
If I don't write it down, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, wasn't sure where we were going to get to. I also knew that this was just going to be like a chat.
Yeah.
So.
Well, do you have questions about because I know you don't want to see Clone Wars because of the animation. Have you thought about watching Rebels at all? It's similar animation. It's not as hard edge. It's a little softer.
I'm gonna watch all of it, and I do actually notice. I noticed exactly what you're talking about with the softer edge. It's not the stories I'm not interested in. It's just the animation. Okay. And so every time I think, welcome Brett's Builds.
Howdy.
Hi, Brett's Builds.
Every time I think about watching, I don't know, the images of that Cartman the Hutt pops into my head, which is
you know what sucks is he comes back. Like there's a couple episodes where he's in it, and when that first happened, I'm like, and I thought about us coming out of the movie theater, and I'm like,
you remember? So Ben and I saw that with the kiddos, right? We were with the kiddos. We were with Rowan and Gregory, and they were in between us. And Ben and I, of course, big Star Wars nerds.
You were excited because we're like more Star Wars.
Yes, and like I said, I love animated stuff. I am a Disney nerd. Like forever,
sure.
Disney, and so I love it, and so I was down like a sad clown, stupid animation or not, and then Cartman the Hutt, I have no idea what his name is, comes on. I don't even know.
Zero the Hutt.
Zero the Hutt.
Yep. Yeah, and he sounds like Leslie Jordan.
Sounds like Cartman from that.
No, it's like a mix of Leslie Jordan and Cartman.
He's got like
he's all talks like that.
Yeah, he's got a lip.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But so Ben and I, over his kids' heads, that's how young they were. We look at each other like,
it's like, what the hell is going on with this?
What is happening right now? I also could not stand the way Ahsoka Tano called him Sky Guy the whole time. I was like, what the hell is happening right now?
Yeah, so I didn't like that either. She doesn't do that much more in the series. He continues to call her Snips, which I think is okay.
Sure. I actually have a friend who, she's one of the biggest Star Wars nerds I know, and she named her bird Snips. She became a bird lady, one of those bird people. One thing dog people and cat people can agree on: there's nothing weirder than a bird person.
I am going to go ahead and throw horse people under the bus.
Oh, we know a horse people.
We know a couple horse people.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see them this weekend, actually.
Oh, jealous party of one. Give them my love.
I will.
Just such a small world. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. We only know one horse person.
That's fair. Although, I'm going to throw my mom under the bus. My mom is a secret keeper. She doesn't, if something doesn't pertain to a story from her past, like she just doesn't mention it. It just doesn't, So like we'll be watching TV and she'll be like, I used to play the accordion. And I'll be like, what? What do you mean you used to play the accordion? And she's like, yeah, when I was a teenager, my parents paid a blind man 50 cents a week to come to the house and teach me the accordion. And I was like, hold up. You learned to play the accordion from a blind dude for 50 cents a week? And you've never mentioned this? I'm like 27 at this point. I'm 42 now, FYI. I'm like, how did I not know this? And she's like, I don't know. It just never came up. And so in the last year or two, I actually discovered she used to own a horse when she was also a small child. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because we were going on a vacation and they had horseback riding. And she says, oh, I want to go. And I was like, really? Do you think you're up for that? She's 72 at this point, 71, pre-pandemic times. And she's like, yeah, I used to ride horses every day. I used to own a horse. I was like, what? What are you talking about? And she, somehow, I guess when horses didn't cost $1 million, I have no idea how much horses cost. But they owned a horse and
$1 million, Meredith.
I don't know. Probably. Inflation, Ben, inflation.
Right.
So she's like, yeah, I used to own a horse until I was like 15. And I was like, how have I not heard this before now? I'm 40 years old. How? It's like, it just never came up. I'm like, whatever. Secret keeping lies.
Yeah. Hello, Marvel Entertainment.
Welcome, Marvel.
I have a feeling this may not actually be Marvel Entertainment, but hello nonetheless.
Yes, you're welcome here.
Mr. Marvel has shown up.
Right.
We love
No,
Marvel.
it's Mr. Entertainment. His friends call him Marvel.
We love Marvel, real or otherwise. Birds are freaky deaky. We actually used to be bird people. I think I would be a bird person, except my paralyzed chihuahua would eat one. But
Cars or horses.
some of them can live for a long ass time. You are not wrong.
Yeah.
They will take over the world someday, I'm sure. I look forward to our bird overlords.
Yeah, bird overlords. So speaking of Marvel, who here is caught up on Falcon Winter Soldier?
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, it's exactly what we're pivoting, Journal. We're pivoting like Ross with a couch. We're pivoting.
Again, pop culture osmosis. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I have only seen like 3 episodes of Friends, so I still know exactly what you're talking about. Monica, my M&M, she loves her some Friends.
Yep. So Falcon Winter Soldier is not over yet. It's got 1 episode left, right?
Only 1?
Oh, it's a TV show.
Oh yeah.
shows you a little research I did for this.
Yeah.
Oh, not
It is a TV show. It's I think this Friday, this 5th episode coming up is like the season finale. I don't think it's the series. Like WandaVision was done. Like it's like 8 episodes, 9 episodes done.
Well, yeah, probably, but they could come back, but I'm sure they won't. They pretty much set up. Right?
Gotta find another town to mess with, I guess.
No, well, but at the end, did you see the stinger at the end of the season finale? Possibly.
Yes.
So I think
I don't
they're
remember.
setting up Mouths of Madness. No,
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, they're setting her up to be in Doctor Strange.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, the Falcon Winter Soldier, I thought they were just going to do 5 episodes this season, but I may be wrong. I kept hearing about this being the last episode so far, but I may be only.
So
it's 6 episodes. So the last episode is April 23rd. Yeah, you are correct.
All right, cool.
Wow. Dude, how are they going to end it? I'm excited now because it's a slow starter, right? It's very much world building sort of.
Yeah. I mean, the way they left the last episode, I can kind of see it being close to being wrapped up because it almost wrapped up this time. We're going to.
Of the refugees, so to speak.
Yeah.
And
we still have to answer that a little bit. So. And
so it feels like from the most recent episode that the Falcon will assume the mantle of Captain America.
Yeah. I feel like that's going to happen. Only because, and I only know this because of watching other videos and because I'm not the comic nerd that people make out, but apparently his army friend, Jesse, I think his name is Jesse Rodriguez, something like that, maybe.
Is he the guy in the show with them?
Yeah. He's the guy we first see at the beginning, like he's tracking him from the Humvee. And he comes in later and they're talking in the cafe and he's a young kid.
Joaquin something.
Okay.
Like Joaquin
in the comic, he becomes the new Falcon, that guy. So the character name. So at the end of this latest episode, when he's like, hey, you're forgetting your wings. And he's like, keep them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, well, I'm really going to keep them.
Yeah. Joaquin Torres, it says.
Joaquin Torres. Thank you, Torres. That's what I was like.
I only know because of the internet. And for some reason specifically, I remember it said Joaquin in the last one. Welcome, Govind. So Journal says he's a noob to the Marvel Universe. I have always been a fan of. So my first love of all things comic book was the X-Men. I love them. They were my favorite. And then I would like cheat on them with a little bit with Batman. But it's always been the X-Men for me, which is interesting, right? Because I was little when I started reading comics, and so there's some heavy storylines in there. You know, and I think that's why I like it. I've always been, like I said, my parents were like, whatever, blood, sex, we don't care, just as long as you don't repeat it out loud or tell your friends, we don't care.
Right.
So, you know, I always enjoyed those sort of older storylines. But I was not familiar with like Captain America. Like they weren't popular when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was born in 79. And so, you know, when I was 11, 12, like it was all X-Men, a little bit of Batman. I don't think horror comics were a thing. Like definitely Blade wasn't anything that was on my radar. Probably a little Superman, you know, he's probably never gone out of fashion too much. But so I was not familiar with any of these characters really until I think the Hulk, probably from the TV show, was all I knew really of the Avengers. So the movie
Bruce Banner or David Banner? David Banner.
And so yeah, I'm with you. I didn't know until the movies came out, and then I was like, what have I been missing?
Well, to be fair too, the characters of the Avengers kind of standalone characters. Captain America was always kind of a big deal. Iron Man was not like a high rated comic ever. I mean, it had his moments because he was in Avengers and stuff, but it was always Spider-Man. Like that was the big one, you know. And it felt like when they did the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, that was kind of like the pinnacle of, well, we've got Batman, we got Superman, we got Spider-Man. That's it. That's all we need. So when we all heard that Iron Man was going to be like the next Marvel movie, we're all kind of like, huh? Iron Man, really? You know, isn't it that clunky, drunk Playboy guy? You know, with cancer or not cancer, but heart condition. You know, I think later in the comic he got cancer. But yeah, we're all like, and then it just crushed it. You know, it was so great.
I'm always impressed with Marvel. I'm not anti-DC, even though, like I said, X-Men has always been my favorite, and I love the Avengers. And I liked the DC shows that were on, you know, for a while, Arrow and all that good stuff. I still love Legends of Tomorrow. I'm way behind on it. I'm not up to snuff on it, but I love it. It's so weird, and I love weird things.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they don't plan as well, or you know. Marvel has just got it laid out, right? They just have a plan, and it just keeps coming to fruition, and they don't stray, right? They know exactly the story they want to tell.
Yeah.
Like that story, too bad for you, because they're going to keep going.
I think they scored by having Paul Feig as the kind of the executive producer of like
if he's the overlord of all
phases. Yeah, I think he's planned it all really well, because if you do a rewatch, because I did a rewatch recently of like all 22 movies, and if you watch them all together, it feels like one long story, like a big soap opera. It's so cohesive in its sort of look and vision and stuff, but each one of them is enough of a different. This one's a heist movie. This one's kind of an emo, you know, emotional exploration. This one's just straight up action. This one's you know, something else. Yeah. So they feel different enough to be okay on their own, but it just feels like, oh, we're rolling into the next episode of Marvel kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's just so well thought out.
Whereas DC is, I'm not a DC fan these days. I didn't care for the latest Wonder Woman movie, even though I love Wonder Woman.
That was not good.
It was not good.
Just wasn't good. I'm hoping we get a Snyder cut of the latest Wonder movie.
It's so fun. I was going to bring that up next. I'm not actually a big Snyder fan. I love 300 and I love The Watchmen. And that's it. I don't like anything else that he's done.
Well, I think you would like the Snyder cut, because the movie we saw,
it's on the list. I want to make it.
I think the reason you'll watch it, I think the reason you'll like it is because the original was not a Snyder movie. It was a Joss Whedon movie. And
I liked the first one because it was a Joss Whedon movie. Whatever we may have discovered about his personal life,
that's true.
I find his humor very funny, which is fine because now someone else can be funny. You know, I'm sure there are many more people out there. Thank goodness. But you know,
I'm sticking with Edgar Wright.
Yeah, dude, I'd love to see some more Edgar Wright. We were supposed to get Edgar Wright for Ant-Man, and then it didn't happen. So I'm ready for some Edgar Wright. But I really liked. That was the only, aside from Wonder Woman, the only DC movie that was to me good.
Mm-hmm.
There was plenty of highs and lows. I get that. I really like Affleck as Batman, and I'm pissed off that he is not coming back.
I didn't mind him. Like, I know a lot of people gave him crap, but I'm like, I thought he did a fine job.
I really think he was the best Bruce Wayne that we've seen. He did a fantastic job of playing like the lech, the sort of leader, whatever. But also made a believable Batman at the same time. Thank you, Journal.
Hi, Journal.
Jesus guts. See ya.
And so I just am upset that he's not coming back. And like I love Jason Momoa. Game of Thrones is my jam.
He's kind of a one-note guy, though. I mean, he's good. He's very watchable and he's very entertaining. And he's
He's got a shtick and he's good at it, and he doesn't stray far from that, and that's fine. I don't mind that.
He stares at you up through his eyebrows. He flexes his pecs. He kind of gives you a little grunt and goes, "Meh," and you're like, "Perfect. That's all we need. I don't care."
He's pretty good with the snappy one-liners, though. He's got good.
Oh yeah.
My mom loves a snappy one-liner, man. She loves PG-13 action where people get shot but they don't bleed, and snappy one-liners. The first Hellboy is one of her favorite movies. She's like, "This is a great movie."
Well, the first Hellboy movie is a freaking great movie too.
It is a great movie.
It's
I love it.
So good.
She poo-pooed the remake with David What's-His-Face from Stranger Things.
Yeah, I tried watching that, and it had some good parts, and I liked him, but it felt a little more like we're trying to be a little darker in this one. I'm like, that's not who Hellboy is, really. Though.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. It's on the list. It's on the long ass list. But yeah, DC seems like it's all over the place, and none of their movies are tonally together, which is fine. It's good to have different, properties and make them their own
different visions for each.
Yeah. But then when they appear in different movies, and like when you go from one movie to the next, like Aquaman, which I enjoy. Let me start out by saying that I enjoy it a lot, but it is not the best movie I've ever seen in my whole life.
No.
And it's just so cartoony to the point where I see anything to do with Atlantis and I can't keep from laughing. Like, it's embarrassing how much I can't,
what's a better Atlantis movie was Atlantis. Do you remember that one? It wasn't even a Disney movie, I don't think. It was like a DreamWorks.
Yeah.
It was a great movie.
I
loved that movie. It was so good. What's that?
I don't think I've seen it. It's on the.
It's Michael J. Fox and James Garner and Rosie Perez is in it. I forget.
I think I was in college when that movie came out, and
about that age, yeah.
Did not have a lot of access to films, it was ramen or movies, so I picked ramen.
So I will impart some knowledge on you that a dear friend bestowed upon me.
Cool.
And it is absolute, because I have an equally long list of movies that I need to watch, and hell, I didn't see The Goonies until like a year ago, might have been 2 years ago, and
thanks for getting it done.
I'm 26, and I hated it. It was not good.
Wait, The Goonies wasn't good, or your age?
No, the Goonies was not good. I didn't like it. Hot take.
Well, it was nice talking to you.
Yeah. Meeting you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I harbor some unpopular opinions. Believe me.
That's okay. We can't all like the same things. It's okay. Right. It doesn't actually bother me.
Also, Jared, go fuck yourself, and thanks for showing up.
Is that another person you know?
No, yeah, that's my coworker and friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good.
I was going to say, hey, man, I'm trying to engender a following here. Don't swear at the viewers.
No. I wouldn't just swear it, so I don't know.
I would, but I mean, not on the channel. No, okay.
Anyway, but so the glossing entirely over that, the wisdom they imparted on me was you can tell how good a movie is and whether or not it's worth watching based on how many memes come out of it. And there are a lot of memes for Atlantis.
The more the memes, the better the movie.
Okay.
Exactly. Like the original Star Wars trilogy, lots of memes. The prequels, so to speak, lots of memes, and hit and miss as far as movies go, but lots of memes.
I'm going to give you stink eye on that one, but go ahead.
Most recent trilogy, not a lot of memes.
I was gonna say I can't think of a single one off the top of my head. You're probably right.
Swole, Adam Driver.
Like that's one though.
I know that's the only one I can think of.
It's a good meme. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think I know that. I don't even know that meme. That's how old I am.
I think that one has the same energy as like Wide Putin, which I can just hear that song in my head.
Oh god, that's so great.
It's a good one. I research at your own risk.
I will love a meme. I will research the hell out of a meme.
Okay, so let me walk back on my tape a little bit. So I didn't hate the Goonies. It takes a lot for me to hate something. I just couldn't quite get as invested into it.
Well, and it's also a dated movie. I mean, it's not. There's going to be a lot of, for our age, Meredith's and my age, because I had no idea how old you were till just now. So I'm like, oh, that makes so much more sense.
Yep.
That I'm going to, or that
he's in his 20s.
Like a
there's a lot of nostalgia associated with movies like Tron or Goonies or Last Starfighter or stuff that came out of the 80s or cartoons like Voltron or He-Man or something.
Yeah,
totally.
And going back and watching them, I went back and watched Voltron because the new one was coming out. And I was like, oh, I'm going to catch up. I'm going to get into the mood for this. And man, that was a stinker of a cartoon. I have such fond memories of that. And I was watching it going, I can't sit through more than 10 minutes of this. This is garbage. I haven't watched Goonies recently, but I know like there's not only are there parts that are just cringingly bad because it's the 80s, right?
Yeah.
But also there are lots of problematic parts of it. You know, there's stuff that you look back on it with like 2021 eyes going, they shouldn't have really done that, So that makes it harder to go back and like, let's see how good this movie was. And you're like, did he just call him an F or did he just say the R word or something like that?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I can't, colors the whole thing.
Yeah. To further clarify, it was a fun movie. Like it was enjoyable as a standalone movie. I can definitely see why it did as well as it did and is as fondly remembered as it was. As a writer, the movie is garbage. It makes no sense.
It's a very I will, 100% agree with you. It's disjointed as hell. And a lot of it comes from them filming or talking about filming things that never came to fruition. So at the very end, they're talking about like an octopus or something.
Yeah, there's a whole Kraken scene that they never did.
Never did, sure. I'm talking about like the pipe organ that when they play it, it's like shaking the pipes in the country club like bathroom and it's shaking the toilet the guy's sitting on.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking like some asshole installed those pipes and was like, there's a giant like ghost pirate ship.
Yeah, how did we not see this before?
No one about this.
Why didn't anybody tell us about this ghost pirate ship? But that's fair.
Or the fact that the pirate ship is there, and they're in what, Oregon?
Mm-hmm.
Because the pirates were hiding from the Spanish Armada?
Yeah, in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. That's a long way. And this is pre-Panama Canal, so they would have had to go way south.
Way around,
to get over there.
I feel you. It has been actually a few years since I've watched it, so it's interesting. Every time I think I'm going to love something, I shouldn't say it, I'm sorry. A lot of times when I go back and think, I love this movie, I'm going to love it again, I'm going to watch it, and they're like, oh, no, this is not good. Did I think this was good?
Never go home again.
And I will say when you mentioned problematic, Ben, my parents are, they're 73 and they try really hard to grow and learn, which is great. But every once in a while something dumb comes out of their mouth because we're here.
Because they're 82.
They're 82 years old.
70, yeah.
But yeah, so, every once in a while, someone will be like, oh, that movie is kind of problematic, and this is why. And my mom will be like, I just don't understand why people can't just enjoy things or what, that kind of argument.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the conversation and whatever. And Glenn is banned because he's never seen Goonies. Go home, Glenn. You're drunk.
What?
I'm here for weird gatekeeping, but that one's a bit out there for me.
Yeah, I don't know. People gatekeep some weird shit, so.
I know. I live in America.
Oh.
I'm well aware.
Let us tell you about our Canadian teen drama.
Oh God!
And then I'll tell you about weird gatekeeping.
But so my nephew Cooper, the younger nephew, who's 21 now, we were for some reason, I think we were at home for a family reunion when my parents lived in Illinois, and so we go and Mom's like, let's watch Revenge of the Nerds. I bet Cooper's never seen Revenge of the Nerds, and then he's like 16, 15, blah blah, I'm like, yeah, okay, let's watch it. I haven't seen it in years either. And so we watch it, and I'm like, And halfway through it, my mom, with no prompting from me, goes, I don't remember this movie being this rapey. And I was like, yeah, Mom, this is there's some issues here, huh? And she's like, yeah, don't remember.
This is what we mean by problematic.
This is what we mean. Because it's impossible to ignore if you have half a brain. But I always use those as opportunities. I'm like, tell me what you liked about that movie, Cooper, what you didn't like about it. Tell me why you think any of those things. What did you see in that movie that was bad? What should you not do? Give me those comments. I'll take a teaching opportunity when you see one. So yeah, good, I was like, because you remember a movie fondly, and even so, again, because my parents were like, whatever, do whatever you watch, whatever you want. I really loved there were Canadian movies, and they were all about sex. Porky's, the Porky's series. Do you remember those movies?
Yeah, I missed those, I think. But.
You are not missing a damn thing.
You aren't missing much.
They are awful and full of problematic sex and
wasn't the director of those like a horror movie director or something?
Yeah, bigotry.
Yeah.
No, you can watch Porky's instead, Glenn.
Oh dear.
Because you just can't even imagine that this was ever appropriate to show in a movie theater. And my mom, I'm like 8. Mom's like, just don't repeat that out loud. I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. And, we're gonna take you to see this movie.
Yeah, we're gonna take you to this movie where there's like glory holes and stuff, and it's fine. Just don't ever repeat that. And then you watch movies and you're like, oh, it's so innocent, so sweet, and then you're like, oh, did he just rape her?
Yeah.
Like, did he pretend to be somebody else? And you're like, did I laugh at that when I was a kid? Was I like, yeah?
Did her long dead aviator boyfriend come back and inhabit somebody else's body, and then she had sex with that body?
Dude. Yeah. Like, yeah. So
yeah, problematic.
My cousin, Glenn's seen Porky's. Okay, so he knows all about the Porky's.
That tracks.
My cousin is my con buddy. She and I go to Comic-Cons all the time. And my cousin Lara, we were talking about Wonder Woman 1984 after it came out. And she's like, I just don't understand why they couldn't figure out a way to keep him around, Trevor, what's his face? Steve Trevor. And I said, well, I appreciate that they tried to find a way to make it plausible that she would send him back because, stealing someone else's life and their body is pretty shitty. So, yeah.
It was all magic anyway. They couldn't just make him appear and disappear.
And good on Christopher Paloha. So I actually love the actor that plays the random body that he inhabits, Christopher Paloha.
Oh, yeah.
He is on actually the first vehicle that I ever saw Jason Momoa in. He was in a nighttime soap opera, is what I'll call it. It's probably got a real name, but I don't know what it is. It's a ridiculous nighttime show called North Shore. And it was set in Hawaii.
I remember North Shore.
Yeah, and so Jason Momoa was a lifeguard / bartender or something. I don't know.
Young, like he had short hair.
Yes, no facial hair. Yeah.
No, he looks like Steven Seagal when he was younger. I was like, you see him now without all his scruff in his hair, and you're like, huh.
Not that Steven Seagal is ugly, but you know what I mean.
No.
But Christopher Poloha is in that show, and so that's how I first know of him. And I also still remember, I don't even know if I've ever seen all of North Shore. I think I discovered it by accident, flipping channels one night. Mm-hmm. But I still remember Jason Momoa talking to a fellow cast member or whatever in the show. And the guy says something and he goes, "Did you eat a big bowl of crazy for breakfast?" And I still love that line. I still periodically try to use it. I'm like, "Did you eat a big bowl of crazy for breakfast?"
Classic.
So it's 10 o'clock.
It's not possible.
I think, yeah.
No, it's been fun, man. Thanks for having
10
us.
o'clock. It's time to look at my wrist. I got a thing. No. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up because I'm tired and get up at 5 a.m. because I'm old. So I'm going to wrap this up. But I wanted to give Dave, have you seen Last Starfighter?
I have not, but it is on my list.
Okay, so I'm going to give you that's another one that's like Goonies-ish.
Okay.
That I have fun memories of. There's talk of doing a sequel for.
Okay.
They should not do a sequel.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, if they do it right, they can have the actor come back and maybe be the Robert Preston character and kind of train a new one. That would kind of make sense.
We'll save this for our next meeting.
This will be the next one. Yeah, the next discussion.
I'm tired of them going back to the well over and over again.
Fair enough.
At least pretend to tell a new story. Not that it's weird for Hollywood to tell stories over and over again. That's actually super common.
Just within the same property.
Yeah, exactly. Glenn knows. Go sell crazy somewhere else. We're all stuck up here.
So that's your homework, Dave, is to watch that movie and let me know what you think, because it's.
I actually watched it recently for homework for something else, and it's still good.
So
yeah, I watched it too, and I still liked it,
so to speak. It's something to the effect of a kid is in an arcade playing this game, and he's really good at the game, and then these aliens show up and are like, "Hey, it turns out this is a training simulator or something to that effect."
Yeah, you got it.
You got the bones. You got the bones.
You got the bones. And also, it's basically the plot to Armada by Ernest Cline, if you've ever read that book, or if you have not, if you plan to.
I have not, but I think that one's on my list.
It's fun. I like it.
It's been a while since I've looked at my list.
Ready Player One is better. Ready Player Two is okay. I liked it okay. But Armada is a very similar plot to The Last Starfighter.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same bones.
So you've got a week, 2 weeks, whenever we do this again,
sure,
to watch it and bring that back. And maybe next time we'll talk about nostalgia.
Okay.
I love it. And I will do some homework and watch some Star Wars cartoons, I promise.
Oh, that sounds great.
Delightful.
Do it.
Well, thanks everybody for being here.
Thanks for having
us.
And go check out Kodiak Bricks on Instagram. Does some really good design work, and he's working with another designer that we both appreciate a lot. So go check out his work. I would pimp something for Meredith, but she's not on socials hardly at all for anything. So
I am. If you want to find me on Instagram, it's Mendlin, Mendlyn. It's mostly pictures of my paralyzed Chihuahua.
I mean, that might be something people want. So
there's a niche for everything. Everybody wants something.
Sure, right.
The only other things I think I'll plug, if you don't mind, are obviously I have a YouTube, same name, and then I wrote a book. So that's
I want to read this book. Where is this book located that I can read it?
It's on Amazon. It's called Man with the Golden Heart.
Man with the Golden Heart. I'm on it.
Yep.
It's not great.
Stop it.
I've got it saved to read on my phone, which we've already discussed how often I'm going to get that.
I'm a former librarian. That was my first job. So I'm a big fan of reading. So I will add this to my queue and discuss. Post haste, Kodiak. Can't wait.
Splendid. Thanks.
Cool.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Cheers.
Yes. Thanks for having us.
Good night.
Thank you again.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Bye.